I'll have weekend news at 6 and 11.
At 10. That variety extends also to the owners of the racehorses here. And we're going to introduce you to two of them right now. Both of them happen to be owners of Major League Baseball teams, and one is George Steinbrenner of the New York Yankees. You know, he bred the horse Eternal Prince, sold him as a yearling for $17,500. Very recently, after the horse came to eminence, he bought a part of him back again for a fee estimated anywhere between $400,000 and $750,000. But since then, the horse won the Wood Memorial. Steinbrenner has more than gotten back his investment, and if he should win the Derby today, well, that's many millions more. Howard Cosell talked to George Steinbrenner, an old friend.
George, Eternal Prince wins the Gotham at a mile, the Wood at a mile and an eighth. And all I read is that the horse can't be considered a Derby contender, authentically, because he's a front runner. What's your reaction?
Well, if you can run in front all the way and win the Wood by 3.5 lengths and win the Gotham by 5 to 6, 7 lengths, what about the other horses? How far do you think they're going to go if they can't catch him? That's silly reasoning, Howard. In my opinion, this horse, nobody knows how good he is. I certainly don't. But Butch Lenzini, the trainer, has tremendous faith in him. Now, they said those that said that at a mile on the Gotham, he was at his limit. And that in the Wood, that would catch up with him. And he buried him in the Wood. I mean, he buried him.
How did you get into thoroughbred racing in the first place?
About 12, 14 years ago, I was looking at some shipyards in Florida with the idea of buying one, and I happened to drive through Ocala, Florida. I've been raised around horses. I've had horses most of my life. I used to have a pony, and I love horses. I think there's nothing greater than raising young people around horses that I can think of today. And so I looked at some of these beautiful farms in Ocala, and I decided I'd buy one. And then I started really into the thoroughbred breeding business at that point and racing. And we've had some great horses.
Why did you sell Eternal Prince in the first place?
Well, when we breed and sell, if you're a breeder and you sell some and race some, if you just sell your culls or your bad horses, people won't buy from you. So what we do is we rate our horses each year, and like we'll keep number 1 and sell number 2, and keep number 3 and sell number 4. We rated the Secretariat Colt 1, and this horse probably was rated 2. And while Hank didn't want to sell him, my son, the farm felt that we should, and we did.
Well, what induced you to buy back into him?
Well, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. It was that feeling that we had raised and were a part of this horse. It was young Brian Hurst's, he's a tremendous young man, and he was very nice about saying, I'd love to have you come back in as a partner. It may have been a little chance off of what he did in the Gotham. You know, people said it was a one-time shot. I didn't feel that way. I felt the breeding was too good, and he's going to be a great stallion regardless, because Majestic Prince now is dead. There are no more chance of more great Majestic Princes coming, and there haven't been that many great stallions by him. And I think he'll be a very, very fine and prolific sire.
George, you'll love the Yankees. They're a big party of life. You'll love New York. Now, that said, if you could only win one, and you're not the kind of man who would ever admit to being able to win only one, which would you take, the World Series or the Derby?
I think at this stage in my life, having won 2 World Series, I'd like to win the Derby, because John Galbreath has done that, and he's the greatest sportsman this country will ever see, and a tremendous man, and I'd like to be able to just come close to duplicating what he's done. That would be a great thrill for me. So I would have to say this year, I'd love to win the Kentucky Derby, or be a part of a horse that wins it, even though, as I said, I'm just along for the ride. The credit goes to other people on this particular horse.
A few days ago, I had a chance to visit the man that George Steinbrenner was talking about, John W. Galbreath, at Darby Dan Farm in Ohio. Despite the fact that he was suffering from a touch of bronchitis, at the age of 87, he insisted we come, have lunch, and take a look at Darby Dan. Just outside Columbus, Ohio, lies one man's dream come true. John W. Galbreath, born on a farm in a town with the prophetic name of Derby, Ohio, bought 110 acres here just 50 years ago. Now it has grown to 4,300 acres with 30 miles of white-painted fences, its own private zoo and golf course, a jet airport, and a training track longer than the track at Churchill Downs. But Darby Creek, just outside his breakfast room window, is John Galbraith's favorite springtime sight, except for a Darby Dan horse charging down the stretch in the Kentucky Derby. At age 87, he's built skyscrapers from New York to Hong Kong, but he thinks his great contribution has been building private homes for Americans.
I don't think there's any one contributing factor to a good living, and particularly in our own country, and to sit across the table in an office and hand a man a deed to his home. I don't think there's anything more to make a good citizen out of that person than giving him a deed to his house.
In the airport hangar are 2 jet airplanes and 2 cars. The MG is his son Dan's. John drives the old Chrysler. Both father and son are big game hunters. That interest sparked the creation of this game preserve right on the farm. John Galbreath, who's never had a drink or a smoke, believes in fundamental principles.
You got to love people if you're going to be a success in this world. And if you do love people, desire, dedication, motivation, they'll ultimately be a path to your door.
These are the 3 things you say, right?
That's right.
Desire,
Dedication, motivation, and love of people first. People-oriented world.
Things are quiet and underplayed at Derby, Dan. Even the 2 World Championship trophies won by his Pittsburgh Pirates sit in a quiet corner. After the Derby today, John will fly about 70 guests back here for a party. Each lady will receive a silver gift already engraved with the name of the winner of today's race, whether that winner is Proud Truth or not. John, as I look on the mantelpiece here, that stone mantle, I see trophies from the Epsom Derby and 2 from the Kentucky Derby. And nowhere else in the world, in the history of the sport, have those 2 trophies been on the same mantelpiece. You're the only person ever to won the Kentucky Derby and the Epsom Derby. That must be a great personal satisfaction.
About as good as you could get. About as good as anything could happen to you in sports.
A brief...
And even the royal family has never won the English Derby.
That's right. That's right.
Which in itself is unbelievable.
Roberto won the English Derby. He now is a top stallion standing at John's breeding farm in Kentucky. He was named for Pirate star Roberto Clemente, and when asked to compare the 2, John says they both could run like hell. Little Current passed 18 horses in the most crowded Derby ever, only to finish 5th, but he went on to win the Preakness and the Belmont. He also stands at Derby Dan. And this is Graustark, the aged sire of Proud Truth, a patriarch with a future. And so is John W. Galbreath. Coming up on number 88, do you have any unfulfilled ambitions in life?
Yeah, I like to win the Triple Crown.
About a week ago, Chick Lang, the general manager of the Pimlico Racecourse in Maryland, was asked to define the word class as it applies to horse racing. That's easy, said Chick. John W. Galbreath. Now live again to the paddock, and Jack Whitaker.
Thank you, Jim. This is Angel Cordero Jr., who is on that speedster Spend a Buck. And Angel, you may hold the key to this race. Are you going to get into a speed duel with the Eternal Prince, or what?
Well, I hope not. I don't think I have to be on the lead. I have a good post outside, and I'm going to see how things going to the first turn. If they're going too slow, I'm probably going to be on the lead. But if they're going fast enough, I could let off on them.
Well, you've done this before. You won on Bold Forbes here, and he certainly was a speed horse. Are you hoping the same thing can happen here?
I think so. The track is very fast, and it's a lot of good horses, but only 3 horses with speed. Telnut Prince, myself, and Chief Crown. I think we're going to be fighting off in front of the rest of the horses, and they're going to have to run hard enough to catch us.
How do you feel? You had a nasty spill a couple of months ago. You back 100%?
Yes, indeed. I feel very good. I'm anxious to get there already.
Okay, have a safe trip, Ann.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Angel Cordero, who will be on Spend a Buck, and we'll return to Churchill Downs right after this.